A Look at Finance is underwritten by Janney Montgomery Scott, trusted advisors for generations.
Welcome back to Look News. Stephen Carleton is here, First Vice President Janney Montgomery Scott.
Thanks, David. Great to be here as always.
It's great to have you here. We got a lot going on today. Let's start at the top local, the big news that we've been reporting here on Look News and LookTVOnline.com. GE announcing that they plan to close their factory in Fort Edward. We, of course, have been talking forever about how Global Foundries is this big economic engine in our area.
Right.
And it seems like we may have put all our eggs in one basket when it comes to economic development.
You're not the first person to say that, David. You know, we've talked a lot about trying to pick and choose the winners and the losers. We talked about the solar industry. We talked about biofuels and stuff like that. And one of the desires that the government has is to try to promote political agendas that sometimes don't make economic sense. And, you know, this is a company that, 70 years in the area and maybe kind of got lost in all the noise with some of these other projects they're working on.
Yeah, there's obviously something, as most of our viewers at home, with GE and unions, dealing with the unions and dealing with union requirements, requests, demands, and then keeping competitive. They say, GE say in their announcement on this potential closing that, that has a factor in what they're doing here. The new facility in Florida is not a union shop, so they can be more competitive with other businesses in the same field.
Think about the auto manufacturers. As they shifted from unionized, well-paying jobs, $75, $85 an hour, benefits and everything else, to non-union jobs, they kept the factories open, they kept manufacturing the cars, but they had to do it at a wage that could compete with South Korea, that could compete with Japan and Europe. And so, same sort of situation. GE is competing on a global scale, and its competitors have certain advantages when it comes to cost perspectives. And this is just the squeeze that's is a continuing story for this country. Yeah,
some of our Facebook followers, talking about this, saying, New York open for business, not. Gary Gendron, he's an engineering teacher in Granville, so obviously a field that he's interested in. Where's the governor on this? Mark Monahan, he says it's bad news for Washington County and Fort Edward. What can we do to bring businesses to our area? That's going to be a huge empty hole if GE does decide to leave.
Yeah, the only way we're going to keep these jobs, we're going to keep these quality engineering manufacturing jobs when we're competing globally, is we have to be cost effective. So these unions, some of these benefits, some of these things, it's going to be hard to maintain them and keep these types of jobs.
All right, let's move on. JP Morgan getting, I guess, a hefty fine today, $920 million. It's a fine that we've split between the UK and the US.
Yep.
The London Whale, they called it, a group of traders who generated a loss of $6 billion. So, I mean, the fine kind of overshadowed by that original loss.
Well, you remember when we first started talking about this, David, back last year, and the losses were only supposed to be $2 billion, and we were looking at the numbers.
Only $2 billion.
I know, when did it become billions that are small numbers? And we knew the number was going to be so much larger. But a $900 million fine for a company, this size, that's a big number. That's for the government to start leveling these kinds of fines, it needs to happen, because taking these kinds of risks, we've already seen that the government and the citizens end up forking over the bill when these things fail.
Thanks for rolling with the punches, by the way. I'm going out of order. I just realized we had come with a running order, and I just threw that out the window.
Absolutely, you got to be nimble.
And you're going with it. So I'll get back in order for you now.
Okay.
Mortgage rates. The Feds today said that they're not going to start tapering purchases of mortgage-backed securities. Of course, that was what was leading to this big jump in mortgage rates.
Huge.
They were fearful the government was going to stop buying up all these mortgage-backed securities. What does that mean for the mortgage rates?
It means they're coming back down. Short is they're coming back down. We had a huge spike to the upside. It was 3.3, 3.5% mortgages back in May. Shot all the way up significantly higher, and it killed the housing market. The realtors were all saying the problem. The builders were all saying there was going to be a big problem with this. The Fed got concerned. They saw the economy slowing down. They saw home sales slowing down. And we just cannot afford to lose traction and growth at this point. We're just not strong enough.
We have some charts that we want to show you at home that you're saying this is the reaction the markets had to the fact that the Fed said that they weren't going to stop purchasing these mortgage-backed securities. So let's take a look at those. We start. What is this first?
So this is the gold stock. So the Fed came out and reported on the news at around 2:30, and you see where the line goes parabolic, straight up. This is gold. So
that was the time the news came out, around 2:30 this afternoon. That chart just went right up.
Just went straight up. And the reason it went up straight is because if we're going to continue to buy all this debt, if the government's going to continue through the Federal Reserve, keep buying up all of our own debt, then our currency is going to go down. The next chart is the U.S. dollar.
All right, let's take a look at that.
If we see that, look at what it had, the inverse relationship. Now, that's a drop of almost 2%.
So same time, the U.S.
Dollar goes down.
Went down.
Now, the dollar goes down because we're buying up our own debt. It makes the dollar weaker. And so that's this precipitous move to the bottom side. Not a good thing. That's an inflationary thing that will make the market react.
So as the dollar was going down and that gold price went up,
right?
You know, obviously gold is a great place to go, right? When there's that instability in the
it's another form of currency.
Yeah.
It's when the yen, when the euro, when all these different currencies are fluctuating all over the place, it can be a stable place to park assets that are less susceptible to those kinds of currency moves. So a lot of people nowadays are viewing that as an alternative to traditional currencies.
All right, so we've got some fluctuation in those things, and I think the markets were also
if we've got the next chart
yeah.
on the, and this is the S&P, look at how the stock market, as soon as they heard that the government was going to be tapering off on buying bonds, the stock market shoots dramatically higher. It was going down earlier in the day, and they hear, guess what, we're not going to stop buying up all this debt, we're going to keep buying it, we're going to keeping interest rates low, and the stock market shoots huge to the upside. So the Federal Reserve knew what was going to happen when they stimulated in this way. Weaker dollar helps exports, helps trade. Stronger stock market, people that have their 401ks or retirement accounts are going to feel better, they're going to feel wealthier. Lower interest rates, easier to buy that car, easier to finance that home, and people now have that one last chance to get in and refinance. That's what they need to do.
All right, so it seems like it's working for the short term anyway.
For the short term. The longer term, it's going to get more and more tricky to hold.
I'm sure we're going to be continue to pay attention to that. Jobless claims out today, but these numbers are pretty much just rubbish, right?
Throw them out. What we're doing is we're getting to the point where we're automating this all through the computer systems, and we still have several states that are not firing on all cylinders. A couple of them came out this morning and saying, we don't have it down just yet. We thought the number would be about 320,000. It came in below that, but I just don't think the numbers are as reliable as they could be.
And that's because of the computer systems, right?
Computer reporting for some of these states.
California and Nevada.
Correct. They're still not 100% reliable.
All right. Well, maybe when they get their act together, we'll get some real job numbers.
It should be, yes.
Real quickly before we go, you're a tech guy.
Love technology,
You've got
absolutely.
your iPhone, you've got all your gadgets,
Yep.
new operating system out for Apple.
This is a big upgrade for Apple. I mean, Apple is a dominant premium player in the smartphone market. And whether it's the iPads everybody has or their iPhones, this new operating system is a big upgrade. It's big for all the people that make software, all the little programs that people can download in their app section. So this is a needed upgrade to compete with some of the foreign competitors coming out of Korea, coming out of China.
Well,
this is
Google is also on their tail with the Android
Yes.
phones that are just, they've been surpassing
neck and
them.
neck,
Yeah.
back and forth, yeah.
Most of the reviews on that I'm reading on my social media is saying that they love it. It's a
Yes.
great operating system.
Yeah, a lot of positive response. The only thing I'm hearing from some of the tech people are saying, geez, what's with all the pastel colors? Why is it geared towards 13-year-olds? And I think sometimes the initial display of it is a little shocking because it's lighter colors and everything else, but the underlying operating system, the underlying features, is pretty compelling.
I'm an Android guy, so I don't know, but I'll check out yours when you
Yes.
install it. Finally, just a quick trivia question. The game of the year, Grand Theft Auto, sales $800 million in 24 hours.
This is huge. So this is a computer game that's available on the PlayStation, it's available on the Xbox, on the PC. Over the next little bit of period, it's going to be rolling out, but $800 million in one-day sales, that rivals major blockbuster Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
One day.
One day.
So it just shows you how technology is taking off.
And my trivia question is, where is that game made?
Somewhere in Europe, somewhere with a lot of smart
You
people.
already know this answer because I told you earlier. Grand Theft Auto, what's the name of the company?
Take-Two.
Take-Two.
Yep.
Scottish company, made in Edinburgh, Scotland.
I didn't know that. That was
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
My people. All right,
stuff.
Stephen Carleton, you're one of my people.
Thank David.
Thank
Always
you very
fun.
much. Great to see you.
Appreciate it. Good
First
to
Vice
see you.
President Janney Montgomery Scott. Now, to see this segment and all our weekly segments, head to the website. It's looktvonline.com.